Good evening to everyone. So, dear meritorious friends in Dhamma, so today is my last talk, real last talk. So, today's topic is the Buddha as a human being. It's not something like the Dhamma talk actually. I will give some information about the general knowledge for your intellectual understanding. When I posted this post on my Facebook, the Buddha as a human being, some of my friends called me and asked, Bhante, is there anyone there to say that Buddha is not a human being? Who says the Buddha is not a human being? So those who are familiar with the Theravada Buddhist school, again I say the Buddhist school, for them, Buddha is a historical person. Buddha is a very human being. As human being like us, who have the all worldly conditions, Buddha himself encounter all the worldly conditions. But long before, after Buddha's Maha Parinirvana, attaining his, after Buddha death, dismissed, people, some Buddhist monk, and the people started to miss him. That's very normal, right? Our very close relative, friends or parents, when we departed, we start to feel miss. And we started to think about them in a bigger picture, right? Someone who is the famous figures, when they departed, when they passed away, people started to write the biography. Some are a little bit over exaggeration, right? They start to build the statue. They are much bigger than the real person. Same thing happened when Buddha passed away. When Buddha attained Maha Parinirvana, set of monks, they started to miss their teacher terribly. They missed the teacher. As a normal human being, what we do when we miss someone? We try to recall the memories, right? That's what we do, right? So Indian Buddhist monks, they also feel the same. They start to recall the Buddha's sweet memories, and they think and they over exaggeration. And they start to write poems. They start to build the Buddha statue, so that they don't miss the Buddha. So today talk, I will discuss how early Buddhism see the Buddha, and later on how this Buddha were developed into a magnificent and the divine figure. Today, some Buddhist school, for some Buddhists in different countries, they know that Buddha is not, for them, is not like a historical person. I mean, not the human being. For them, Buddha is already divine being. So let's see how this concept was gradually developed. Okay. Before the talk, I want you to understand. So even though I am coming from the Theravada Buddhist school, so I am not a sectarian one, okay? So I don't hold any sectarianism. So as I studied Theravada Buddhism, I studied the Mahayana Buddhism, a little bit of Vajrayana Buddhism as well. So I will be open to all the Buddhist school. And the purpose of this talk is not to prove that what Theravada school belief is right. It's not, okay? Please understand that one. So I am not going to, my talk is not going to the proof that Theravada school is right and other school is wrong. No, I am just give some information for your general understanding how this concept of the Buddha developed over the time. Need of the society, need of the people, and need of the time. Okay? Another thing that all the sources, they are not my own idea. the sources from the early Buddhist teaching. Early Buddhist teaching means it's not only the Theravada Pali canon, the Chinese agamas. Chinese agamas is the Pali canon, same as the Pali canon. So Buddha's teaching was written into the Sanskrit language in the first century, around first century, second century. Then later on, they were translated into Chinese. So they are parallel to Pali canon. Okay, then Pali canon and the Chinese agamas. And another sources I'm using here is the Mahayana Buddhist sutras, which were compiled later time in India. In India, and most of them were compiled, written in China, in mainland. So they call the Mahayana Sutras. So you will be hearing that the Pali canon, Chinese agamas, Mahayana Sutras. So it means that refers to different sources. So historical Buddha seen in the Pali Suttas. So we all know that the archaeological evidence has proven that's Buddha's birthplace in Nepal. So it occurs during the 6th century. It's generally believed that we don't know exactly which day the Buddha was born, but we generally believe that Buddha was born in the 6th century in Nepal. So this is the Asoka pillar, and this is the exact place where Buddha was born. So archaeologists has confirmed. So he's a historical person. He's the human being. He was born to this world. And he had a very luxurious life, the royal lifestyle, until at the age of 29. And when he was very young, he renounced everything. His royal life, everything, he renounced. And he practiced 6 years of austerities, different type of meditation technique he practiced. And at the age of 35, he attained the full enlightenment by understanding the Four Noble Truths. And he continued his Dhamma missionary work for 45 years, and at the age of 80, he attained Nibbana. He passed away. So that's a very general understanding, very general information that all the Buddhist school, Theravada, the Vajrayana, Mahayana, they all believe. Okay? Buddha was born. There's some argument about the Buddha's birth and his great renunciation and his enlightenment and the passing away. Then who is the Buddha? So Buddha is not the person, okay? Person means Buddha is not his name. It's a kind of the state that. So Buddha himself is uttered that those who follow the path, those who have the enormous effort and practice diligently the path that he has shown, so if we follow that, everybody can attain. So of course it is not the easy task. Have to really commit it and have the aspiration to attain that Buddhahood. So it is not the Buddha's name. His name is the Gautama Siddhartha. So Gautama is his name. So Sakya Muni also another name that given to the Buddha. So since he attained the status, he is known as the Buddha. The Sambuddha, Samma Sambuddha, in Sanskrit is called Samyak Sambuddha, directly the awakened or directly, fully, perfectly enlightened being. And also thus the Buddhists in any sect use this term refers to extraordinary, altruistic, liberated one. So Buddha is someone, he is not the normal human being, he is a very unique human being. Buddha himself is explained in the one Buddhist discourse that he is like a lotus flower. Lotus flower, where is the lotus flower arise? In the muddy water, right? In the muddy. So, but the lotus flower when it blooms, it was always above the water level. So Buddha is something like that. The simile is explained is, Buddha was born in this human world with the defilements, all the defilements. So then he cultivated himself and attain liberation. So he's like a lotus flower. So nevertheless, different Buddhist schools illustrate the Buddha by emphasizing his archetype personality, exclusive knowledge and realization. Based on this, his personality, exclusive knowledge and realization, later on other Buddhist schools started to create different concepts. So according to the Pali Canon means the Pali Nikayas. So Buddha is the epithet is utilized for the person who is fully awakened, one whose appearance in the world is very rare. So Buddha says that in the Iti Uttaka and so many the discourses in the Anguttara Nikaya, so Buddha says that appearance of the Buddha is very rare. Kiccho Buddhanang Uppado. The last sentences here I highlighted one. So these two sources indicate that the appearance of the Buddha to this world is very rare opportunity. So Kiccho Buddhanang Uppado, rare is the appearance of the enlightened one. So we shouldn't understand that Buddha is a normal person. Of course, Buddha is a human being, but it is not just a normal human being. He's a very unique, rare human being in terms of his virtues, compassion, and wisdom. So he's a very unique human being. So Buddha in the early Buddhism, so Buddha is described as having two aspects, the human identity and superhuman and the supernormal personage. So even in the Pali Canon, we can see that Buddha as a human being, he encountered all the worldly conditions like getting old and sicknesses, and decaying, and finally he passed away. All the world conditions is common for him. But at the same time, some Pali discourses explain that Buddha had this superhuman personage, superhuman qualities he had. So these two aspects we can see in the Theravada canon, Pali canon, and as well as Chinese agamas. So he was born a human parents and brought up, as I mentioned in the very earlier. So Buddha was born human being to the human parents and enjoy royal comfort and having all sensual pleasure around him and had a completely elegant life before his renunciation. So he enjoyed all kind of worldly the pleasure before his renunciation. So Arya Pariyesana Sutta and Pabbajja Sutta, these are very important suttas. They are actually like a biography, autobiography of the Buddha. Those who want to know more about the Buddha's early life as a layperson and what did Buddha did during the 6 years of the austerities practice and the other later part of the Buddha's life, please read these suttas, two suttas, Arya Pariyesana and Pabbajja, which explain clearly. It's kind of the Buddha's autobiography. So this sutta explains the details account of his renunciation as a young adult who understood everything is subject to change and including his life itself. So sutta explains that household life is crowded. It is full of defilement. It's a lot of problematic. A realm of dust, defilements. While going forth means become a monk, recluse, is the open air. And seeing this, he went forth. Okay? So having understood, because before his renunciation, so he had the very luxurious life. So once he had when he left the city, you know the story about, right? The Prince Siddhartha, he was the highly protected. He was like living in the prison, even though he had all the sensual pleasure. So one day he went out the palace, having seen the four sides. So he was shocked actually. One of my professor mentioned that actually he was depressed. seen for the first time in life, having seen the old person and the sick person and the dead body, he was depressed because he had never seen, never heard such thing in his life. As a 29 years of the young person, so he's depressed. What happened to me? Same thing happened to me. I will get him all. I will be sick. Is my parent get sick? My wife gets sick. So think about it, all these things. He was depressed. He was really shocked. He was suffer a lot. So having understood, so he renounced the world out of compassion. The same discourse explained that the then monks, after time, being young, my hair called black, the possess of radiant youth in the prime of my life, although my unwilling parents wept and wailed, having cut off my hair and beard. So some says that Buddha secretly ran out from the house. So some the accuse actually why he did that. He is not kind enough. Needless to talk about his great compassion. He doesn't have any kind. He left behind his young wife with the infant. Doesn't have any kindness. So people accuse him. Actually, it's not that Buddha is explained that having seen that foresight, he was suffer a lot. He's mentally suffer. The same thing happened to my beloved wife, my son, my parents. Is there any way that I can help them? Help them not to be born again. Help them to not to be die. So that is why, that's with that great compassion, he renounced. So later when we talk about his austerities practice, so that accusations are pointless actually. People don't know how he suffers during that 6 years. So these are just indicate that, so Buddha was a human being. He went through all the life stage. And when he was young, and he renounced. Not like us, okay? Not like us. I mean, I was ordained very young, but I didn't have any Buddhist understanding when I became a monk. But I mean, normally the general people, not like you in Sri Lanka, sometimes people, they are more into Buddhism when they are getting old. Okay? So the Prince Siddhartha have everything. Have everything, then left everything and renounced himself. And Buddha's the Atta Kilamatana Yoga. Atta Kilamatana Yoga means rigid austerities. He says how he practiced, how the willpower to the quiz for the reality of the life. How thirst he was to understand the reality of the life. Okay? So again, these three Buddhist discourses is very important. Bodhiraja Kumara Sutta. Again, you say that the Arya Pariyesana Sutta, Maha Nidhana Sutta. These three discourses explain very clearly in details what Siddhartha Bodhisattva did after his renunciation. We know that the 6 years of austerities practice he did. So in between, what kind of the practice, what kind of the meditation technique he practiced before his enlightenment. Okay? So one Buddhist discourse explained, then Sariputta, this is I quote from the Arya Pariyesana Sutta, the Noble Search. Sariputta, these were my austerities. On my body was collected dust for a number of years. From them, shoot had sprung, like a burnt stump near the hermitage, where is collected waste for innumerable numbers of years, with shoot coming up. So he practiced kind of the austerities. He didn't clean up himself. He avoided of taking bath. That kind of the austerities practice, even nowadays in India, some people is practicing, okay? So I am not condemn those kind of practice. So we discuss this topic in details. Did Buddha reject the rites and ritual? So this kind of the practice, even in India, people are practicing. So they believe that by practicing, they can reduce their past karma and attain liberation. So that's what they believe. So they are very faithfully following that kind of the rigid austerities. Okay, even today people are practicing there. There are some kind of benefits actually they are enjoying. So I am not saying that they are right or wrong, but of course that the Buddhist understanding. So Silabbata Paramasa, it means it's the hindrance for the liberation. So Buddha have practiced and he tried all these things and tried by torturing his whole body whether he can attain enlightenment. So he went to the self-mortification, but he finally realized that self-mortification is not the way to attain liberation. So Buddha, Bodhisattva had that kind of practice. He stopped taking shower, clean up himself for many years until the sprout, the grass, started to sprung his body. So that kind of the dust was in body. So in the same sutta is further explained that during the summer it was cracked, but the Bodhisattva didn't feel that he wanted to clean up. So that kind of the severe practice he went through. And it further says that, I would feed on the dung of young suckle cows, and as long as my own excrement and urine lasted, I fed my own excrement and urine. I think this is one of the most difficult things that people can do. So he fed himself his own excrement and the urine. Of course, I have seen I read the stories and seen the movies. The people do because of for the sake of their survival. There are so many other options. But the Bodhisattva did one. It's not because of his survival, but his thirst to realize the true nature of the life. Because that is kind of the practice that prevail in India. We try all these things. So if Buddha was the Bodhisattva was the divine being, he would not have to done all these things. So himself is a very human being. He following all the contemporary religious leaders and the knowledge system were prevalent in India, and tried himself his best to attain liberation by following on this technique. So he's a very human being. Other discourses also explain that his worldly conditions. So all the configured phenomena we call the samskara are subject to change. Whatever is arise depend on the causality. The very nature of the things is subject to change, impermanence. So Buddha himself had to how to say that Buddha himself went through all this process. So if it is a divine, if he was a divine being, he wouldn't have experienced all the decay, old age, and sicknesses. So he was a very, very human being. So Dhammacetiya Sutta explained that King Kosala approached him and says that I am 80 years old man, same as the Buddha. So Buddha accepted. Buddha says, yeah, I am also 80 years old man. So he was the human personage. And Gilahana Sutta explained the sicknesses of the monks. And even the Buddha himself explained that Buddha was sick many times. So this is one of the example here. So it is strange Lord Buddha. It is wonder how the skin of the exalted one is the Buddha again, is no longer so clear and the translucent, and how his limbs are slack and wrinkled, his body bent forward and changed it to be seen in the faculties of eyes, ear, nose, tongue and body. So this explanation creates the picture that the all Buddha. So Buddha experienced as we all experience, as all human beings experience, getting old. The old age he was experienced. So he is a very human person. And another occasion, the Buddha says that, so Buddha compare himself with the worn out cart. So he explained to Venerable Ananda, for me Ananda, I am now a broken down old man, and age far gone in years. I have reached the journey's end. I have come to finish life's limit. My age is now turning 80 years. Just as Ananda, a worn out cart is kept going by tied together with help. Even so, Ananda, the Tathagata's body is kept going by help. So he decayed. His body is decaying. So he said that I refused on myself. I used my mindfulness to stand. So as a normal human being, he experienced all these things. Another worldly conditions, Buddha experiences sickness. So many discourses explain, so Buddha was sick many times. So Maha Parinibbana Sutta is one of the discourses. This is the last discourse of the Buddha. They explain that Buddha's sickness. During the reign, the Buddha was attacked by a severe sickness with sharp pains as if he was about to die. And he endowed all this mindfulness, clearly aware and without complaining. And another sutta explained that the Chivara Khandaka in the Vinaya Pitaka, so Buddha had the very severe stomach pain. Actually, many discourses explain that Buddha had many times actually Buddha had the stomach pain. I don't know, maybe the food of the India and hygiene, right? So he had the stomach pain. So once in his last journey to Kusinarara, so he had the stomach pain. And that reported to the Ananda, Venerable Ananda, when approached the Jivaka, who is the royal physician as well as the Buddha's physician as well. So he checked the sandstone of the Buddha's physical body, and he realized that Buddha was so old to digest kind of the strong laxative medicine. So he made the kind of the laxative using the water lily, not to drink, just the inhale. So Buddha in the discourse says that, so after taking that medicine, Buddha had the 29-time diarrhea. Yeah. So very normal, as a normal human being, right? So he had that sicknesses. So he was not the divine being, according to in the Pali canon. Then Seka Sutta, Sangiti Sutta, Buddha has many times explained, I got the back pain. Can please Venerable Ananda Sariputta, can you continue this Dhamma talk? I will take a rest. So he's very humane. These are some other discourses where the Buddha, this was explained that where the Buddha was sick. So, yeah, Chunda Chera Bojjhanga, which is very famous. So once Buddha was sick and asked Venerable Chunda to recite the 7 factors of enlightenment, which is known as the Bojjhanga, for his speedy recovery. And Maha Parinibbana Sutta, so his last meal, which offers by the Chunda, it's a kind of the controversial point. Okay, Sukara Madhava. Some people says that kind of the pork. Some people says that it's a kind of the mushroom. So anyway, the Sutta explained that after offering to the dishes to Buddha, the Buddha asked not to serve that dish to anybody. It's okay. So it's kind of the very strong thing. So after having that meal, Buddha was severely sick, which was cause for his death. So the sickness with the bloody diarrhea and with sharp pain as if he was about to die. So purpose of explaining all these things here, for you to understand that the Theravada Buddhism, the Pali Canon, we can see Buddha was not the divine being. So he's a very human being, as we all. He was getting old, and he was sick, and he was feel hungry, and he was thirst, and he tired. So he's a very, very normal human being. And some other human characteristic Buddha had. So in 10 Vassa, Buddha never lived like a supernatural or super normal human being. He lived like a normal teacher with his own disciple. So in 10 Vassa means rainy retreat, he lived in the Vairanja, where there was a famine, and he and his disciples had to eat kind of the horse food. We call yava. For 3 months, he had to eat it. So if it is a divine being, so he can simply escape that kind of situation. And another discourse, the two group of monks, they called the Dhammavadi and Vinayavadi, who follow the Dhamma, who give priority on the Vinaya. They start to quarrel over the very simple matter. So Buddha tried to settle these two groups, but they were never ready to listen to the Buddha. Finally, Buddha gave up and went to the jungle, Paraleya jungle. So he engaged on all these things as a very human being. And a very, very beautiful story we can find in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. So Pukkusati, the meeting of the Pukkusati. So it is not that like the Buddha, according to these last two discourses, okay? So Buddha is like a very normal human being. If we meet him, we cannot recognize him. Okay? Some people says that, some sources says that Buddha has the 18, maybe, his high is more than the normal human being. And he has the aura all over the body. And he's the 32 marks of the extraordinary, the physical marks. Of course he has it, yeah. So, but these two discourses explain that the Pukkusati is a very young one. He ordained for the sake of the Buddha, by the name of the Buddha. But he had never met the Buddha. But accidentally, in the one evening, they meet each other. But Pukkusati couldn't recognize him. So Buddha asked, for him, for who you ordain? So I ordain for the name of the Buddha. So Buddha was my teacher. The Buddha asked, have you ever met him? No, I have never met him. So if Buddha has kind of the extraordinary or supernatural, supernormal power, extraordinary, the physical mark, so Pukkusati could have recognized him, right, as a teacher. So when after he started to preach the Dhamma, then Pukkusati realized that he is the Buddha. Then another incident mentioned in the Chula Gosingha Sutta, where the Venerable Anuruddha, Kimbil and Nandiya were resting in the nearby park. So then Buddha, after his lunch, he also wanted to go there and take a rest. But the gatekeeper stopped him. He stopped him and told him that, sorry, I can't allow you to go there because another 3 monks were resting there. So if Buddha was a divine being, he has the divine, the physical body, so that gatekeeper could recognize him. So that the Buddha and the gatekeeper's discussion, heard the Venerable Anuruddha, and then told the gatekeeper, he's our teacher, please let him in. So he is a very normal human being. However, even though he was a very normal human being, later on, after 100 years of the Buddha's passing away, the Buddha was depicted as a divine being because of some teaching found in the early Buddhist discourses. Like as I mentioned, 32 marks of the extraordinary person and his knowledge, his wisdom, and his realization. So one example is the Sinsapa Sutta. So Buddha explained to the venerable monks, the knowledge I have is like the leaves of this whole Sinsapa forest. The Dhamma I taught you, I preached you, the leaves like in my hand. So this is one of the example that the later on other Buddhist school developed the idea that Buddha is not a normal human being. He is a divine being who is possessed the great knowledge, wisdom. And some other words we found in the early Buddhist discourses and Chinese Agama, Purisuttama, unparalleled knowledge being. And the great person among the divine and human, Deva Manusa Setto. These are the words we can find, phrases we can found in the early Buddhist discourses. And Sadeva Kassa Lokassa Aggo, the teacher of the divine and men. And because of all these words and the doctrinal point, later Buddhist school, the Buddha is seen as a divine being. And the biography writers, as I mentioned very early, after Buddha's passing away, they are the biography writers are the one who exaggerate the Buddha, particularly the Maha Sangika. Maha Sangika is the one of the Buddhist school sect belong to Thera Istaviravada. And under them, so in India, then after Buddha's passed away, 100 years of the Buddhism was divided into 18 schools. Okay? So Mahasangika is one of the earliest one. So under Mahasangika, there's another Buddhist school called the Lokottaravada. Loka Uttara, above the world, the transcendental. So they are the one, for the first time, they created the idea Buddha was not the normal human being. Buddha was a divine being. He is the manifested one. Okay? So in the Mahavastu is the Buddhology. Buddhology is the Buddha's biography. It was written by the Lokottaravada, the monk. So it's mentioned that Buddha's body and the root of a good thought are transcendent. All his actions are transcendent. So they said that the Buddha didn't want to clean his body because dust cannot dirt his body. Since the Buddha was the transcendental being, Buddha behaved like a human being to show the world that he was a human being. So whatever, they explain that whatever the action the Buddha did, the Buddha eat, sleep, standing, walking, they are just to show that the human. So he himself, Buddha was in the divine world, and the Sakyamuni Buddha was the manifested one. So whatever the Sakyamuni Buddha was did in the world, they are just to show the human being. He get in all to just let people to understand the nature of the life. Even they says that it is in the Mahasangika school says that even the Bodhisattva, when his mother's womb, he preached Dhamma to the other Bodhisattvas. So he's a divine being, just a manifested one. So Sakyamuni Buddha, the Gautama the Buddha was just a manifestation, and all his actions are just a show, so display only. And this idea later developed by developing the concept, Trikaya concept. So Dhammakaya, Sambhogakaya, Nirmanakaya. So Dhammakaya, this term we can find in the Pali Canon and Chinese Agamas. Dhammakaya. but it doesn't carry any philosophical connotation, any philosophical idea. Dhammakaya is the epithet, another designation for the Gautama the Buddha. There's no, and in the later on, in the commentary, it is explained that the Dhammakaya is the teachings of the Buddha. There is no any other philosophical idea behind of this term. But later on, other Buddhist schools give some philosophical meaning to these terms, particularly the Sarvastivada. Sarvastivada is the another Buddhist school under Sthaviravada. Okay, it means we can say this is a Theravada as well. Okay, so they are very rational. They don't believe that every word of the Buddha as the Buddha's word. Okay, they don't believe that every word precisely in the all Pali canon as true. They are very critical about it. So they deny all the supernatural powers and qualities of the Buddha, Sarvastivadi. Okay. So Dhammakaya for them is the true Buddha. Rupakaya is a physical body, is impure, is subject to decay, change, and sickness. So subject to change. So they only believe in the Dhammakaya. They don't take refuge for the Rupakaya. But they also accept the 32 physical marks and the golden color with the one pattern, white, and the halo radiating Buddha's body. They do this accept. But these are not the new ideas we can find in even the Theravada Pali canon as well. So as I mentioned, the Maha Sanghikas, they are the one actually, they created this, the ontological, the how to say that, para-human, right? Beyond that human nature, the divine being, the supernatural power, they apply the qualities, supernatural qualities to the Buddha. So through Buddha, who is omniscient and omnipotent, and the manifestation form through which he liberates sentient beings. So historical Buddha is just a manifestation only. Okay? He attained liberation a long time ago. And the true Buddha is living in the heaven. So Buddha we know as the Sakyamuni Buddha is just this display only. It's just like the show only, okay? Whatever we know that Buddha, the Siddhartha was birth and renunciation, preaching the Dhamma, and all the other things, just a show, display. It's like a drama for them. Yeah, correct. So Buddha was not there in the human world actually, according to them. Okay? So Lokanuvartana Sutra, so it's explained that the external body of the Buddha, Rupakaya, is not subject to decay. So Sarvastivadin says that Buddha's Rupakaya is impure. But Mahasanghika says that no, as the Buddha was a manifestation of it's a divine Buddha, his physical body also pure. So one important point of the Mahasanghika is they are faith-oriented. So whatever the mention in the Pali canon, they believe. So all the supernatural powers, qualities, they thoroughly believe it. So their philosophical orientation is the faith. So that is why because of that, too much faith, they create this concept. Buddha as a divine being. Dhammakaya, according to them, not the teaching of the Buddha, the true Buddha who lives in the heaven and create his manifestation form in other world to lead the sentient beings, liberation with his skillful means. So hence the Buddha cannot be an ordinary human being, but a celestial being. So unlike the Sarvastivada, they took refuge in both Dhammakaya and Rupakaya. So Sarvastivadin, they don't give the much emphasis on the Rupakaya as it is the impure one, But the Dhammakaya, but Mahasangikas, as the faith-oriented one, they thoroughly believe in these two kayas, two bodies. And another important point, that another important concept they develop is the simultaneous existence of many Buddhas. So according to Theravada Buddhist point of view, so Theravadin believe that the one Buddha will exist in one world system. There cannot be many Buddhas. There cannot be not many, even the two Buddhas in the one world system. So Mahasangikas, for the first time in the Buddhist history, they says that so there could be many Buddhas simultaneously exist in the different world system. Because all the Buddhas, they are just a manifestation from the one Buddha, true Buddha, the Dhammakaya. So that's how this concept of the Buddha, the gradually start develop. So Mahayana. So Mahayana, they agree with the ideas of the Mahasangika. They accepted what Mahasangika mentioned about the superhuman qualities of the Buddha. And they further develop it. Further develop it by developing the two body theories, Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya. Okay? So, yeah, it's 9 o'clock. So I'll add a lot of other information there. So maybe I will skip two lines. Huh? So go to Dhammakaya in the Theravada, in the Mahayana. So Dhammakaya, for them also, as the other two Buddhist school, they are the true Buddha. So they attributed philosophical accept to the Dhammakaya. So first one is according to the Ashtasahasrika Prajna Paramita Sutra. This is the sutra, okay? Ashtasahasrika Prajna Paramita Sutra. These are later compiled discourses in around 1st to 2nd century BCE in India, which is their philosophical idea. As you're familiar with the Venerable Nagarjuna, so he's the one who compiled, written these discourses. And their major philosophy of the emptiness, so they talk about this Ashtasahasrika Prajna Paramita Sutra. And Tathagata Garbha, Tathagata Bhumi, so all talk about the philosophical idea of the Dhammakaya. So, yeah, Dhammakaya, and also the Mahayana says that Dhammakaya and the Mahaparinirvana are the same, they are synonyms. So according to the Mahayanis, the Buddha's parinirvana and the parinirvana of the Arahant and the Bodhisattvas are different. So Arahant and Bodhisattva, Pacceka Buddha's parinirvana means they end up their life. But the Buddha's parinirvana doesn't mean that he departed this world forever. Because it's not the real one, real Buddha. So it's just a manifestation only. So it's a divine one, divine Buddha. So he lived there. He just for the show and for the demonstration, he just lived this human world. And scientific aspect of the Dhammakaya have the two aspects, intellectual aspect and the emanating beings of light, the whole body. So it explains that those who even never heard the Dhamma, but they encounter the light of the Buddha, the light which is spread from the Buddha's body, they are able to understand the Buddha's teaching and attain the liberation. So he generalized all these concepts. And sentient being can be liberated by hearing the Dhamma. Not only that, they can liberate the Dhamma. This light are held to reach the liberation. So by encountering the light, the radiating from the Buddha's body, they are able to attain liberation. You know, the Pure Land Buddhism, they are the Pure Land followers, those who are so faithfully follow the Pure Land. So at their last moment, either Buddha, Amitabha Buddha himself, or his Bodhisattva, Kuan Yin, he can spread the light. And if he see that light, he or she will be born in the Pure Land, lotus born, right? So that's how this idea was later developed. Sambhogakaya. So Sambhogakaya means the enjoyment body of the Buddha. It means that he is enjoying himself by sharing the Dhamma with the Bodhisattva. And another aspect of the Sambhogakaya is the rewarder. So because of his meritorious deed he done during the Bodhisattva career, he enjoyed this life. So Buddha. So this is the Sambhogakaya. This is a very new concept developed by the Mahayanis. We cannot find this idea in the Theravada canon. So this is the last one, Nirmanakaya. This is also not the new idea. We find this exact word in the Theravada Pali canon as well as Chinese agamas. So Nirmanakaya, particularly Patisambhida and the Samanyapala and Maha Sakurodahaya Sutras explain is Nirmanakaya is a mind-made body. It says that those who are really committed to meditation practice, samatha particularly, he will be able to create another physical body, physical form. So in Theravada, in the Pali canon explain that, particularly Patisambhida Magga, the Vikubbana Irdi, kind of the Abhijñā, the jhanic level, he may attain when he practice it, he can create the many type of the physical bodies. He can manifest it. Okay? Because of this idea, later on, the Mahayanis and other Buddhist school formulated the idea, that concept, Buddha is not the normal human being, he is a super mundane, supernatural human being. So whatever he did in this world, they are just a display, just a demonstration only. So even though he is passed away at a Nibbana, he's not the final departure. He's just a soul to the human world, and he lives forever in the divine world. So I think that much is information enough a lot of information to digest. So if you have some other questions, so if you have got the question, we can discuss.
Bhante, sorry. This question about transformation. When we were in Sri Lanka recently, they said the Buddha visited Sri Lanka 3 times. But there's no historical evidence that, or in the suttas, that the Buddha was ever in Sri Lanka. But the Sri Lankan Buddhists strongly believe that he was there 3 times. Could this be because of this Mahayanic influence?
It's also a very controversial point actually. Some people believe that in Sri Lanka. So as of course, and myself as the person with the faith, okay? So I am a faith person as well. So I also believe that Buddha visited in Sri Lanka, but we can't find any sources in the archaeological or the evidence in the Pali canon. Maybe he manifested and visited Sri Lanka. So I have no clue about it actually.
Because you mentioned that this is more of a Mahayana philosophy. And Mahayana philosophy has actually thrived in Sri Lanka for many years. So I'm just trying to put the puzzle together. That this idea of the Buddha visiting Sri Lanka, but there's no evidence, is based on the fact that it's actually a Mahayana idea that manifested in Sri Lanka, because Mahayana tradition was pretty strong in Sri Lanka for many years before it disappeared. Right? So I'm just trying to put the puzzle together. Is that a possibility?
So it could be. It could be. So and another thing that, so even today, right? So we want to claim that Buddha visited Sri Lanka. Burmese also that claim that. So Buddha visited not the Sri Lanka, Buddha visited the Burma. So Thai people says that no, not the this is the term in find in the canon is not the referred to Sri Lanka, it is referred to Thailand. So Buddha visited Thailand, not the Sri Lanka. And when I visit in Myanmar, so we know the story about the Maha in Sri Lanka, Ruang Alicia. We heard the story and read the story about at the end of this Buddha's dispensation. So all the relics of the Buddha gathered in that place and create the Buddha's image and they disappear. So that is the end of the Buddha's asana. So same kind of the belief had the Burmese. So they believe that so all the relics gathered in the golden pagoda and they create the Buddha image and that will disappear. So they believe that. I think this one also, as you said, that the Mahayana influence, this idea came to existence. Yeah.
No, because I'm a bit puzzled because as Theravadians we believe there's only one Buddha. There was only one human being who eventually became a Buddha, right? So, but that logic doesn't apply to Sri Lanka when they say the Buddha came 3 times, because there's no evidence per se. But then this logic here in the Mahayana sense makes more sense that he was.
You mean the simultaneous existence of the Buddha?
Yeah. Unless he astral traveled or whatever. I don't know.
Simultaneous existence of the Buddha. Yeah, it is. I think it's more resonant with this mind-made body, nirmanakaya. So he can by attaining the kind of this dana, this iddhi, the power of iddhi, then he can create his own form that manifested and appear in other places.
In modern day, it's called hologram.
So Buddha was born as human to attain Buddhahood in the human realm. There are so many heavens and realms. Why do you think he chose human realm to attain Buddhahood? Yeah.
Why there are so many realms, 31 realms, normally in Buddhism we discuss, one world system has got the 31 plane of existence. Why he chose the human world? So in Buddhism, in Theravada particularly, we believe that only human being can attain Buddhahood. Only human being can cultivate his mind. For example, if he born in animal world, how is their intellectual capacity? Very low, right? We can train them, but it's trained to kind of that. But that limitation, like thinking pattern, thinking capacity is limitation. So what about the other lower realm, like hell? So they are too busy experience the suffering. They are, those who born in the hell because of their bad karma. So there's no way to understand or cultivate or cultivate their mind. The moment they born there, according to the canon, okay, they are suffering. They are tortured. So it is impossible to be born there. Even if the Buddha born, what's the point of there? Because they are born there as a punishment. To whom that he speaks the Dhamma. So divine world is in the canon says that they can understand the suffering. They are too comfortable, too pleasure they are experiencing the divine world. So that is why I say that it's the human world. Human world is the most suitable place to be born. So humans are the only one who can cultivate the mind. So they have experienced both the pleasure and the pain. So other realms, either they experience pain only or the happiness only. The human, we experience both the pain and happiness.
Talking about human, I think what I understand from Buddhist practice all those 30-something years, right, is we human actually are going through a process that we can never avoid, even animals, but it's birth, old age, sickness, and death. And the Four Noble Paths are a noble truth about suffering, right? It actually can relate to this four rhyme of living. And in order to reach to overcome the sufferings, right, then we practice the Eight Noble Paths. It's just like we are the Buddha, that we try to achieve to the center of the, a circle, instead of going around circle, you try to reach the center to a stillness that's called Nirvana. Is this concept correct or not? I mean to say that the stillness, you are not actually affected by hatred, by anger, by all these lower ranks and that kind of thing. You try to achieve to that virtuous, altruistic. I believe through meditation and also this mantra reaching, I can reach to that stillness purpose, and then there's a lot of calmness. That's my experience. Thank you.
So your question?
Okay, the question is, that's how I focus on, I gain this Buddhist, calmness, how to adapt to your career, your life, and you're not caught in this sea of suffering and you are trying to be above like a lotus flowers. That's the purpose of life, I believe. Thank you.
So whatever the teaching that you know, either Four Noble Truth, Eight Noble Path, try to apply. Try to apply yourself to your life and practice. Apply means practice. Then gradually you will reach your goal.
Quite obvious the Buddha had a stomach problem.
Yeah.
For a lot of suttas he's having...
Yeah. So I was wondering, he was not a foreigner, right? He is an Indian. So of course, it's nowadays also if you visit India, the foreigners, they got some the food poisons and right? So he was... Yeah, he had not many times, not several times, many times that explained Buddha got the food poison and the stomach problem.
Bhante, good evening. For the so-called the modern classification or categorization of the, say, the Theravada, Mahayana, or Vajrayana, like for now, let's say the people are busy on the so-called Chinese translation of Agamas. That's almost similar or almost identical with this Theravada, Samyutta Nikaya, maybe, most of them. And then on the another hand, we have the Theravada that's having the so-called Bodhisattva, that kind of practice, and so-called the paramita as well. So sometimes even having more paramitas than the so-called Mahayana, initially having 6, and then the Theravada maybe having 10, and then after that develop. So how about we say that now actually is depending on what the people that practice. Sometimes they are so-called they are the Theravada, but they are practice so-called paramitas and bodhisattvas and so on. So what's your comment on that?
First one, we need to understand that the Pali Canon and Chinese arguments, they are not really identical. There are more and less differences, Some, for example, the Mahaparinibbana Sutta of the Pali Canon and Mahaparinibbana Sutra of the Chinese canons, their contents are different. So even though the Chinese Agama, it is the translation of the Sanskrit version, and they add a lot of information. So they are not exactly parallel and identical. Okay. The Theravada have the 10 paramitas. Mahayana have the 6 paramitas. But within the 6 paramitas, they cover the 10. Okay. So some concept actually they develop. So nothing in the Mahayana, whatever the concept they have, they are not the really new ideas. They develop from the Theravada. For example, the Pure Land Buddhism, the seed we can find in the early Buddhism. And another one is the emptiness. That philosophy we can find in the early Buddhism. In the Venerable Nagarjuna himself is the mention is Mula Madhyamika Karika, which is the thesis. Okay. So mention that the emptiness is nothing; it's a dependent origination. So some ideas they develop, but the main teaching, the doctrine, they are the same. Practice also the same. Sometimes, mostly they're the same. So 10 paramitas. Even the Theravada practice 10. They practice the same, but they practice the same one.
Yeah, Bhante. A bit out of today's topic, since we were mentioning about paramitas, I heard from another source that an arahant have to practice the 10 paramitas to gain arahantship, something like that. And Pacceka Buddha actually practices 20 paramitas because there's a lower 10 paramita and the middle 10 paramita. And the Sama Sambuddha actually practice 30 paramitas because of lower, middle, and higher paramita. So can you explain further on that point? Or is it true, or actually 10 paramitas is 10 paramitas?
As Buddhists, we are practicing, we are following the path to liberation. We have to practice paramita to some extent. We have to practice generosity, right? To eradicate the greedy. The one of the root cause for the suffering, samsara. So when we have to practice the compassion, kindness, to eradicate the hatred, anger, and jealousy. So we have to practice wisdom. We have to develop our intellectual faculties in order to eradicate ignorance. So greed, hatred, ignorance, they are the root cause of suffering. These root causes are the one that we born to tied to this samsara. So in order to eradicate, we have to practice. And then the passion, we have to practice it. It's no matter that our goal is the Arahant, Pacceka Buddha, we all have to practice to some extent to attain the liberation. So Arahant only they have to practice 10, and others have to practice both Pacceka Buddha 20 and the Buddha have to practice 30. So I have not heard such things, but what I learned that, so Buddha practiced 30 paramis. 10 paramis is divided into lower, middle, and higher level. For example, generosity, he practiced in the first level, donating, the offering, the material thing. Then the second layer, we also practice, right? Second layer, the donating, the physical, the bodily part. We also do, right? The donating blood is another level of generosity. And the final one, the donating is on life. This is the highest one and the highest one, the final level. So every 10 paramita has got the 3 layers. So to attain the Samma Sambuddha, so he had to practice. So for the Arahant, I think the first two layers, Arahant and Pacceka Buddhas, they had to practice. I'm not so sure actually. I'm sorry about it. I'm not so sure about it. The Arahant have to practice the first layer, Bodhisattva, Pacceka Buddha, second layer, and Samma Sambuddha have to practice all the three layers. But I know that, what I learned that attend the Samma Sambuddha, he had to cultivate, practice, be perfect in these 13, the three layers of the 10 paramitas. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to each and every one of you. So I thought that you got sick, keep seeing me. So you were there until my last talk. So thank you so much for coming and listening to Dhamma. And particularly I express my sincere thanks to Mr. Leslie, the Honorable Secretary of the Society. And so because of him, actually, I got opportunity to preach the Dhamma. So I am so privileged, I feel privileged and blessed to come to Buddhist Maha Vihara and start my Dhamma service. So all this happened because of his generosity and kindness. So thank you so much, Mr. Leslie. And thank you so much all the other members of the Sasana Abhivardhana Society. And of course the chief and the Venerable Vinita and everyone. And of course you. If you are not here, I wouldn't have reached the Dhamma. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. So everyone is blessed with good health and happiness. Thank you so much.
Sa